So I didn't want to just go, well, if I don't surprise him, I'm going to take the sexy away. No, if I surprise him, then there's a possibility I'm going to cross some boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
There was also no penetration. This was only body work. So think Jordan keeps calling it a conscious hand job. Looking to start our family or trying to start our family towards the end of 2022. And knowing that that's probably going to be about a time when I might have a contraction again of some sort, we're now questioning, what do we want to do in the in-between? Do we want to keep this as like it's all newly laid down foundation again? Like, or do we want to have some wild and out experiences? Do we want to have some fun and frisky kind of play in the in-between? I think we're settling more or less on that because we understand that once we start the family thing, even though it takes 9 months to, gestate, that's not a
Yeah.
sexy word, but so you're technically like don't have a kid for 9 whole months, 10 months when pregnant, but I don't know how much gallivanting I will want to
Right.
do. There's a lot of unknowns there. So the conversation, it didn't really start with these words, but for me, this was kind of what it was like. But how do we break the seal? Like, how do we've now like, it's just been us and it's just been these certain conversations. What do we do in order to remind ourselves that we're open to more?
Mm.
So recently, after Jordan's birthday, which was in April, this didn't happen until May, but recently we I hired a tantric body worker
Mm.
to deliver an experience with me. So we have a really awesome community here in Austin. And so, and just based off the work that I do, I have connections. So it's relatively easy for me to find these types of people. I understand that people listening it might not be so easy for you to find a tantric body worker, or a sexological body worker, sex somatics,
Mm-hmm.
insert any other word that means body and
Yeah.
sex or tantra.
But if you're looking for one, definitely DM us and we will give you
Can help.
recommendations. Yeah.
Yeah. I can at least tell you what to Google or
Yeah.
what to look up or where to look it up. So I
Mm-hmm.
hired someone and we co-created an experience for Jordan. And that was the way that we were able to re-inspire and reinvigorate that excitement in other people, and how it's not necessarily about the other person. It's about, I always want to be conscientious of how I phrase this. When it comes to someone who's providing a service, it gets to be all about us.
Yeah.
When we are navigating a third and we have someone else who's playing with us that is not offering a service per se, then we're equally considering each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that has its own unique pressures. And so I wanted to give us a lower barrier to entry, a minimum viable product, if you will, so that we could be in that space again together, and he could feel my nervous system be regulated. He could see me get turned on, and he could surrender and relax. So, yeah, it was something that was spurred on by his birthday. So it was more about him than anything.
Mm.
And so, we're talking about like what it could look like for him to curate an experience for me. But, it doesn't have to look like, let's go start dating again, or let's go start, let's get on field. And our lives are busy. I just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned I went to Peru so I could slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. When you start playing with others and considering dating, it's like a whole portion of your calendar that has to magically open up.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a
Yeah.
lot. People always want it. And I think to myself, sometimes you have no idea like how much of a life shift it becomes when you bring in these other relationships, especially if you are doing it in a conscious way where you are considering all parties.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you touched on that because I think people enter into this space all the time who are already established couples who have a primary relationship. And, that gets a bad rep sometimes because,
Yeah.
there's the whole like quote unquote unicorn hunting and things like that. But it is a great thing to note that like the third or the fourth or whoever else, they are not there exclusively to serve you. And I just love that you hired a professional because I've said it on the show so many times. People are like, this is my quick little tangent soapbox, but people will write in and ask me, well, where do we find, a third to play with? And it's so hard and it's so challenging. And I'm like, it's actually not. Hire a sex worker, right? And I mean, that's not the only way, but a professional in some, you had a tantric body worker. They're amazing people who will come and do shibari in your home or things like that to create an experience. And then, like you said, it's such a great point of entry into this world. And it gets to be all about you if that's the experience that you want. Pasha just hired a professional dom for me, actually, not that long ago. And it was the first time we had ever done that. And they sort of created an experience for me. I haven't talked about it on the show yet, guys. So I'll have an episode about that coming soon. It was incredible.
That sounds like a solo.
Yeah.
Or like one with you and your partner, maybe.
It's definitely going to be a solo episode for sure. I would love to share with you that at Open Late, we created a dictionary of terms. So you never have to wonder if you're mixing up polyamory and polygamy, because they mean two very different things. And what do you call it when you're in a relationship with a dude, but you like to go down on girls sometimes? We've got you covered. I think that language is the most vital part of who we are as a culture. And communicating in our relationships ultimately leads to more successful, wow, Freudian slip, and happy and fulfilling relationships overall. So make sure you get your free copy of the Open Late Dictionary. Continue, please. I appreciate just you touching on that, because I think it's such a way to go that people don't often consider.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's a ton of people in Austin that would come fuck us.
Yeah.
I am certain it's here.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're looking for. That's not what I was looking for in this time. You got to consider, I think generally speaking, for anybody, consider where you are in your life, consider where you are in your relationship and your love, and where's the edges and the boundaries. And so I like to look at things on a spectrum, or on a number scale rather. So if there's a fantasy or a desire, but there's an interest in, let's say, having a threesome, having a foursome, having a orgy, whatever it is, having some kind of fantasy experience, working with a dom, something like that. And let's put that at a 10. Let's put where you're currently at a 1. Then let's go for a 2 or a 3 on the path to the 10. So if us dating someone and seeing them regularly and having really beautiful, awesome, open experiences is a 10, I just went to like a 4 or a 5. So maybe a 2 or a 3 is reading erotica that is about more than one person, listening to the Open Late podcast, listening to Okay Babe, listening to, reading and listening to audiobooks that describe the dynamics, reminding myself, even though I teach on this subject, I help people open all the time and change their mind all the time and redefine their relationships all the time. And it's different when it's mine. It's different when it's my relationship. And so I seek help and assistance all the time based off of where I'm at in my journey, and I like to honor that just because I'm a professional in this space and because I have a business that's oriented around that doesn't mean that I'm not void of the challenges. I have my own, my body hasn't gone through pregnancy, and that is even considering that it will. I don't know. I haven't gone through any of that yet. I haven't gone through a slew, infinite possibilities. And then guess what? I'll learn more about myself through that next wave of change. And just when I think I've got the handle on it, the handle on my mind, a handle on my body and all of that, it's gonna fucking change again, because that's the way life goes. It's cycles and seasons. And so I'm pretty consistently reaching out to people that I trust, whether they're people online or people that are in my in-person community here in Austin, or, back at home, family in New Orleans. So I always want to share with people that you don't have to do all of this alone. You really don't have to do, whatever your next great, big, grand adventure is. You don't have to do it alone. And I would suggest that you don't. So with regards to, I'd say like the last couple of things that I really loved and enjoyed about hiring someone to come in with us and to have that experience is now we're that much more excited to do something else.
Mhm.
But I'm glad that we started with that one because that felt safe. It was, in a sense, very transactional, but it was so soft and so gentle and sweet that it didn't feel like, okay, I'm here to provide a service. All right, I'm leaving. When do you pay? It wasn't
Mhm.
anything like that. It was an hour-long conversation ahead of time. It was me doing a lot of detective research, asking Jordan what kind of experience he wanted because I wanted to make sure he had fully informed consent as well. And then I wanted to take that information and honor his boundaries and desires and bring that to her and deliver an experience that still felt like a surprise. So I didn't want to just go, well, if I don't surprise him, I'm going to take the sexy away. No, if I surprise him, then there's a possibility I'm going to cross some boundaries.
Mhm.
There was also no penetration. This was only body work. So think Jordan keeps calling it a conscious hand job.
I love this. I love him so much.
He keeps telling people he had a conscious threesome hand job.
That's pretty great. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's Jordan for you. We actually just recorded an episode all about it and I broke down all the pieces and parts and how I
Mhm.
even found this person, engaged with them, the questions I asked Jordan, and then the actual experience itself. We co-created. We took turns.
I'm glad that you're enjoying Open Late podcast in this way. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss one. And check out this next video for more tips, insights, and my expertise on non-monogamy and polyamory. If you want full episodes, you can find them wherever you download your podcasts.